Hi, Roby kids. So happy Monday. Today I'm just going to spend some time doing a math screencast to go over our Module 4 Topic A quiz. So thank you to all those students that took the quiz on Friday. And if you haven't, please do not watch this video because I'm going to go over some of those answers. So make sure that before you even go any further, make sure this Module 4 Topic A quiz is done. It's going to be found in the iBlog, so make sure you take a look at that. Now, if you take a look, don't forget to add your units when you put your answer. So many of you guys who put down just a number, you got the answer wrong. So a lot of you guys actually scored a lot lower, not because you didn't know how to do it, but because you forgot the units. So that's super important when we're talking about geometry and anything we do really with math. You got to know what you're counting because it's going to make a difference, especially with area. Area is all about building. So think about if you're doing carpet in your living room and you didn't put your unit. Is it going to be in inches? Is it going to be on feet? Is it going to be in meters? And you go to Home Depot, you're not going to know what to buy. And even think about if you're building a building, how big is that building going to be? If you forget your units, okay, that size of that building may be completely off. So making sure that you remember your units is so important. All right, so let's go over our quiz. So a lot of you guys got the first one correct, which was the area of each square is 1 square unit. What is the area of the following shape? So I put down the shape here, and you had to find the area. Well, we know that area is the space inside. So we can actually count the squares inside to figure out the square unit. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I'm going to use my little marker tool here that I downloaded. Super fun. Okay, so I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I counted 9 squares, so my answer is going to be 9 square. And we can abbreviate square, that way we don't have to write it. We can do SQ, and I'm going to put a period here to know it's abbreviated. And I'm going to write units. Now you can abbreviate units. I did see some friends who decided that they were going to abbreviate units, and that's not okay. You got to make sure to write out units. Okay, guys? Now, square units. Some of you are probably thinking, why are we measuring this in square units? Why can't I just put 9 units or 9 centimeters? Well, because we're counting the inside of the shape, and we measure the inside of rectangles and squares, and sometimes irregular shapes using squares because that's the easiest form because we have X and Y axis that form squares in our geometric shapes. So that's why we're counting square units. I always think about what are you counting? You're counting squares. So you have to put 9 square units. All right, so the second one is very similar to the first one we did. It says the area of each square is 1 square unit. What is the area of the following shape? Well, a lot of you guys got this one correct, but once again, you didn't put the unit. You got to make sure you put those units on. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 squares that I counted. So my answer is going to be 7. So my answer is now going to be 7 square units because we counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 squares. So I had to put square units because we're counting those squares inside the shape. So don't forget those. All right, let's take a look at that next one. All right, so number 3 says the area of each square is 1 square unit. What is the area of the following shape? So once again, it's telling you that that square is worth 1 square unit. Now, square unit's just a generic term, so it's not using inches or centimeters. It's just to get you practicing counting the square units inside. So let's count them. I'm going to use my pen tool again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my answer is going to be 5 square units. Now, please excuse Miss Roby's handwriting. I'm doing this with a screenwriting app. It's a little hard at times. So 5 square units because we counted 5 squares inside the shape. All right, so for our next one, it's going to be a little bit different. It's all about finding the side lengths of the rectangle below. So if you look, we labeled it A and C. So we have to figure out what are the lengths of those sides. So I'm going to talk about that right now. Let's look at the A side. So remember, when we're talking about the side lengths, now we're not talking about the whole square. We're really only talking about one side. Okay, so for example, we're only talking about this one side right here of this square. Okay, we're not going to count it in square units because we only have one side. We don't have a complete square. So that then takes away the units. Okay, so let's count the side for A. I have one side, two side. So side A is going to equal 2 units, whatever that unit is. Now, since we didn't label it, we're just going to write units. Now, please excuse once again Miss Ruby's writing. I'm trying it on my computer. It's really hard. All right, so let's take a look again now at the C length. Now, remember, we are not counting squares because we're only counting one side of that square. We're not counting the entire square. So what's the length of this side? So I have 1, 2, 3, and I have 4. So the length of C is now going to be, what did we count? We counted 4. Let's see if I can use this. Equals 4 units. Okay, so I can see now that I have 1, 2, 3, 4 units, whatever that is. Now, some of you forgot to label it, doing A equals or C equals. Make sure, especially if you're given a letter, that you're very clear with what that letter is and labeling it. Because if you just put 2 or 4, I wasn't sure if you were meaning C, A, or another side that wasn't mentioned. So make sure you're being very clear with what you're labeling. Now, the next question was kind of a continuation of the question above. So it says, what is the area of the shape below? So if you're looking at the shape, well, we know the side length, A equals 2 units. We also know side length C equals 4 units. So there's two ways we can solve this. We could count the traditional squares, which here I can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that tells me right away that my answer is going to be 8 square units. Now, I'm labeling square units now because, right, that area is counting the inside of the shape. So if for some reason I'm counting the inside, you need to put square units because that's what we're counting. Now, some of you, towards the end of our math lessons, you were starting to realize that we can actually multiply and look at this more like an array. That's right. So we could actually multiply the length and the width to find the total array. So I can do 2 times 4, and I know 2 times 4 is also 8. So there's two ways that you could have solved that last problem. Do both ways work? Of course they do. So do whatever you feel most comfortable. All right, so this top one, it says find the side lengths of the rectangle below. So this is looking a lot like the question we just did. So remember, if we're talking about the side lengths, we're talking about only one particular side of the square. So we're not counting the entire square, we're counting one side. So let's take a look at E. So I see I have one side here of a square and I have two sides. So if I wanted to figure out the side length for E, I would know that E equals 2. Do I put square units or square? What do you think? Well, I should have put square. Oh, nope. Mr. Ruby's just checking. Oops. It would not be square. Oop. We're going to undo that. Even I make a little mistakes from time to time. Okay, so because we're doing those side lengths, we have 1, 2. E is going to equal 2 units, right? Because we're not counting the whole square, we're counting one side of it. All right, let's do F now. Our F side, let's count those side lengths. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Good. So now I know F is going to equal 6. Is it square units or just units? Well, we're counting only one side of that square. So we're just going to put units, 6 units. Okay, so remember that area, if you're counting the inside of the shape, so the whole inside, you're going to do square units. If you're counting a side length, you're only counting one part of that square, so you can't count the whole square, so that's why you just put the units. All right, now that we know the side lengths, we can now try to figure out the area of the shape below. Okay, so I'm looking here, and now I could do it two ways, right? I could count the inside of the square, or I can multiply my two side lengths together, my length and my width. Okay, so I'm going to try solving it using the equation. Okay, so I'm going to say 2 units times 6 units is going to equal 2 times 6 is 12 units squared. Okay, so this is another way to write square units. I could have also wrote it like this, 12 square units. Okay, both of these mean the same thing. Okay, I just wanted to show you them. But if we're doing an exponent, which is that little tiny 2, units, think about this. Units, how many units do I have up here in my equation? I have 1, 2. So that's why I can put my exponent of 2. So I have units squared, or I can write square units. Same thing. Now, could I have also just counted my inside of my shape? Of course, right? So let's double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Did we get the same answer? Yes, we did. So put 12 square units. All right, so these are two different ways to solve that area. All right, let's take a look at the last question, which about half of us got it right, half of us got it wrong. So let's take a close look at that. All right, so it says here, Mrs. Curry creates a rectangle with an area of 14 square feet. So that seems important. I'm going to put it down. I'm going to highlight it. Miss Roby makes a rectangle with an area of 14 square meters. Oh, look at that. Do the two rectangles have the same area? Why or why not? Ooh. Okay, so this one is a pretty tricky one. So what do I know? I know that Miss Curry has 14 feet and Miss Roby has 14 square meters. So right away, we're seeing 14 twice, right? So I'm going to put C for Miss Curry and an R for Miss Roby. Okay, so Miss Curry, though, she has 14 square feet. And I have square meters. Okay, so right away, some of you might be thinking they're the same area. However, they don't. Now, here's why. Okay, think about feet. Feet's about, it's a full ruler. Okay, I have 14 about rulers for Miss Curry's entire room. I can kind of measure that out, about 14 square rulers there. Okay, square meters. A meter is about, if you put out your hands, a meter is about as big from your hand fingertips on one side and your fingertips on the other side. Okay, which one is bigger? Is it feet or meters? Well, meters are bigger than feet. So Miss Roby actually has the larger area. Okay, and that's because meters are larger than feet. It's so important to make sure you're very clear with your units again, because if I was measuring something in centimeters or inches, it might be different. If I have an 8 square centimeter house, it's going to be different than if I have an 8-foot house or an 8-inch house, right? It's going to be larger. And think about if you're putting a rug in your house. Do you really want an 8-centimeter rug, or were you going to want an 8-foot rug? Right? An 8-centimeter rug would be very tiny, maybe enough for your like Polly Pockets or Barbies or even action figures. But an 8-foot rug is going to make a little bit more room for humans. So be very careful when it comes time for looking at those units. So great job, everyone. I think the most important thing to remember is don't forget your units. All right, have a good day today.